What if I told you the person you're trying to become doesn't actually belong to you? That the identity you're spending money on isn't yours to own, no matter how much you invest in it? That you're paying rent on a costume, convinced it's who you are, while the real you sits quietly in the corner, watching you perform? Here's the thing nobody tells you. Identities are membership fees, not destinations, and you've been treating them like property. If you're tired of feeling caught between who you were and who you're trying to become, you're in the right place. Let's start with something uncomfortable. You don't own Minimalist. You can't. It's not a house with a deed. It's a club with dues, monthly subscriptions to apps that organize your life, linen everything because cotton is too chaotic, those specific bamboo hangers, the right storage systems, the aesthetic that signals to others that you've transcended materialism while spending a fortune on the performance of having less. Same with foodie. You can't own that title just because you dropped $40 on artisanal pasta and know the difference between natural wine and regular wine. That identity requires maintenance, the right restaurants, the correct opinions about food trends, the Instagram-worthy table settings, the knowledge that proves you're in the club. It's a subscription service where the content is credibility and you're paying in cash and attention to keep your membership active. This isn't obvious because these identities don't feel like products. They feel like evolution. You think if you just buy enough of the right things, say the right things, show up in the right way, the identity will solidify. But it doesn't work that way. Here's what's really happening. The minimalist who keeps too many books, the foodie who admits they like chain restaurants sometimes. This is the identity trap, and it's expensive in ways that don't show up on your credit card statement. Let's talk about what ownership actually looks like, because this is where people get confused. You own your car, you can park it and ignore it for months, and it's still yours. Real ownership of an identity would mean you could stop performing it and still be it. And here's the psychological trick that keeps you trapped. These identities promise belonging. But belonging through consumption is an infinite treadmill. Think about minimalism for a second. Now you've got people spending thousands to achieve the look of having less. The irony is suffocating. Or take foodie culture. This is happening everywhere, with every micro-identity you can imagine. Fitness person, plant parent, conscious consumer, sustainable living advocate, book lover, coffee snob. Each one started as an authentic interest or value, and each one has been monetized into a subscription-based identity you can rent if you keep spending. And the spending isn't just money, it's attention, time, mental energy. Let me show you what this looks like with actual numbers, because the financial cost is easier to track than the psychological one. Let's say you've decided you're a minimalist. You spend $300 on a capsule wardrobe consultation. You get the apps that help you track and organize your minimal possessions, $10 a month. You're 6 months in and you've spent over $1,000 becoming a minimalist. Now multiply that across every identity you're renting. Foodie, wellness, sustainability, productivity guru, creative type. Here's where the psychology gets interesting. When you spend money on an identity, your brain does something clever. You've spent money, so the identity must be important to you. So you spend more money to prove it's important, which makes you spend more money to maintain it. And there's a status component nobody wants to admit. These identities are social signals. Recognition requires performance, and performance requires props, and props cost money. The darkest part? But here's the flip side, the hopeful part that makes this whole thing worth talking about. Once you see the trap, you can walk out of it. You can start asking different questions, not, what do I need to buy to be this kind of person? This shift is harder than it sounds because it requires you to abandon the social proof these identities provide. But here's what you get in exchange. Your money back, your time back, your mental energy back. Let's walk through what this looks like at different stages, because the trap works differently depending on where you are financially. If you're at $400 in savings, barely starting, the identity trap might look like spending $60 on a book about minimalism and a minimalist starter kit, instead of just putting that money toward your emergency fund. If you're at $5,000 or $10,000 grinding toward stability, the trap looks like lifestyle creep disguised as evolution. You tell yourself it's about values, and maybe it is, but it's also about signaling that you've moved up. If you're closing in on $50,000 or $70,000, the trap gets sophisticated. You're surrounding yourself with people who reinforce the identity you're building, and it costs a fortune. And if you're past $100,000, sitting on real wealth, the trap becomes invisible. The way out is the same at every level. Stop trying to be something and start doing things. Here's what I mean. You don't need to be a minimalist. You can just own less stuff. You don't need to be a wellness person. You can just move your body and sleep enough and drink water. This is a massive shift because we've been trained to think identity comes first. Let me give you a framework for this because abstract philosophy doesn't pay bills or build wealth. Step 1. Audit your subscriptions, but not just the obvious ones. The premium coffee subscription. Do you love the coffee or do you love being a person who knows about coffee? Step 2. Track your identity spending for 1 month. Step 3. Redirect that money towards something with actual ownership. Your emergency fund, your debt, your investments, your skills. Step 4. Practice being undefined. This is the hardest one. The psychological payoff here is massive. When you stop performing an identity, you stop worrying about whether you're doing it right. And weirdly, you become more interesting. People who are just doing stuff without needing credit for it have a different energy. This also saves you a staggering amount of money over time. Over 10 years, with average market returns, that's close to $80,000. And here's the freedom part. When you're not locked into an identity, you can change without feeling like you failed. This is what people who've built real wealth understand, even if they don't say it this way. Think about the people in your life who seem genuinely secure. You can be that person. Here's what this looks like in real life. You stop buying books to look well read and only buy books you actually want to read. And the money you save isn't just money, it's options, it's breathing room. This is the quiet wealth that nobody talks about. So here's what you do today, right now. First, pick one identity you've been renting and ask yourself, what would change if I just did the behavior without claiming the label? Second, find one subscription or recurring expense that's about identity maintenance and cancel it. Just one. Third, comment below and tell me where you are on your wealth journey. If this hit different, subscribe. The identity trap is everywhere, but you don't have to stay in it. That's the path, and it starts the moment you stop performing and start building.